Hey gang, I'd like to talk today about some safety issues that all women should think about, and ways for us to stay safe. Any woman, genetic women, or transgender women as well, or transgender males too. It will all apply, and it'll all shake out here in a little while, and it makes sense. What I'd like to talk today about, this is not a self-defense video. There's nothing I could teach you about self-defense on YouTube like so many of these other guys do, or think they do. But anyway, this is situation awareness. Now, situation awareness is a wonderful tool that anyone can use without a lot of effort to maintain their safety when they are out in public, in society, or in a strange place that they're not familiar with. Okay? Every woman at some time in their lives has felt threatened. Yes or no? Am I lying? I don't think so. Rachel has felt threatened because of large men who acted aggressively towards me, and me being in a vulnerable position. If I'm going to a fancy place and I've got a skirt on or a dress and 4-inch heels, that's not what you would go to a fight in. I've always said never bring 4-inch heels to a fight or something like that. But you feel vulnerable when you're dressed that way. Anyone does. So how can we empower ourselves? Situation awareness. Situation awareness is just like driving a car. You look far ahead as you can see. You keep your eyes up. You pay attention to what's going on around you. You look far ahead, and if you see any signs of danger, you change direction, slow down, go back the way you came from. But you're paying attention to what's happening. It's simply that. And we could get into the levels of awareness on another video if I get enough comments, positive comments on this one. But really all you need to worry about is what's happening all around you. So you got to learn to turn your head. Okay? It's really interesting because with just a little bit of effort, if I turn my upper body like this, I can look directly behind me and see what's going on. Okay? Occasionally, it's a good idea for any woman on the street or any trans woman walking around to do that. Okay? You're just paying attention to what's going on. I'm not talking about being paranoid. I'm not trying to scare anyone. I'm trying to make you guys feel calmer by knowing what's going on around you at all times. Plan your trip. Whenever you're planning on a night out, going somewhere, traveling, make sure you plan your trip. Remember, a failure to plan is simply a plan that fails. So you plan your trip, you know where you're going, you know the neighborhood. Ask if you've been invited to go to a trans party somewhere or get together. Find out. It's probably going to be in a safe neighborhood or they wouldn't have it. But anyway, if somebody, I've been invited to a party at a bar that I've never been to in a very large city, and I'm going to be driving considerable distance. And so I asked, hey, if I have to park 3 blocks away, do I need to be armed on the way into the bar, or is it going to be a safe neighborhood? And they said, you take your chances, Rachel. So I'll take my chances, but I'll be situationally aware when I'm doing it. Trust your instincts whenever you're out and walking around. If you don't like the way somebody looks, or you don't like the way a certain situation feels, get your cute little butt out of it, okay, as quickly as possible. All right? That's the best way to avoid any kind of aggression or violent confrontation. Trust your instincts. It doesn't hurt if you're wrong. Okay? Find your friends. When you get to where it is you're going, find your friends. Now that doesn't, maybe you didn't have any friends, maybe you just went there by yourself. But in that establishment, in that restaurant, in that nightclub, wherever you're at, the management is going to be your friend. So make sure you know where they're at. if you go to a large dance club, large nightclub, they may have security people moving around. You know, make sure you know where they're at. They're going to be your friends if somebody, some trans hater wants to pick on you. Okay, the doorman. Okay, the bartender. All right, doesn't hurt to tip your bartender well, because they tend to keep an eye on where you're at, make sure your drink is full. If someone does approach you as a trans woman, if someone does approach you and they're not happy with you being a trans woman, don't start the fight. You have every right to be where you're at, okay? But if you start that fight, okay, you're gonna lose, all right? You don't know what the, you know, how law enforcement feels in the jurisdiction. You don't know what the district attorney is like in the jurisdiction. You don't know how trans friendly the government is in the jurisdiction. Obviously, yeah, we can go anywhere we want to, but if you start that fight, you're gonna look like maybe someone that disguised themselves as a girl so that they could beat somebody up, whatever. You know, I've even heard of trans women being called vigilantes because somebody tried to rape one of them and they got the upper hand. And well, if you weren't going around dressed like a woman, this never would have happened. Maybe you were just trying to lure that rapist in. So it can go against you, okay? Now if you have to defend yourself, then you do what you got to do, and that's not what this video is about. I don't want to hurt anybody, especially as Rachel. I try to emulate female characteristics, so I do try to be more compassionate and empathetic and nurturing rather than aggressive and violent. Most problems will melt away if you are cognizant of what someone is planning to do ahead of time. If you know, we'll never know how many times we've been qualified as a potential victim by a mugger or a rapist. We'll never know how many times that's happened. If we walk around with our head up, make eye contact with people briefly, pay attention to what's going on around us, don't act like we're lost, okay? Don't engage strangers in conversation. If we behave that way confidently, a lot of those people are going to just leave you alone because they know there's a sheep coming along any minute right behind you. All right? You know, if someone does attack a trans woman, it is now a hate crime. If you know, so a lot of halfway intelligent people realize that. You know, they could be looking at stiff prison sentences if they attack you simply because you're transgender or cross-dressing. Okay? It makes it a hate crime. It's like, you know, whenever someone uses that derogatory term when threatening you, okay? And if they lay a hand on you, it's a hate crime. All right? If they call you a tranny or a faggot or, you know, a sissy or stuff like that, and then they lay hands on you, it's, if you have witnesses to that, it's a hate crime. Okay, so we have rights, okay, but don't start that fight. That's about all I got for situation awareness. It does take a little bit of practice to keep your head up and not be walking around looking at your really hot shoes all the time. Making sure your nail polish is done just right on your toes. Keep your eyes up. Check all that other stuff before you leave the house, and then keep your eyes up when you get out on the street and when you get into the club. All right? Love and peace to all. Let's just try to accept one another for who we are.